someone as important as the Dean of Students. "Miss Cowherd, Dean Crane has a busy morning ahead. Please don't keep him waiting." "Yes, ma'am." Too late to worry about her dress. She'd have to go in. But she smoothed the front of her pleated skirt, centering her belt buckle, and straightened her spine. No slouching, Mother always said, even if she was tall for a girl, before giving the brass doorknob a twist. The door swung open on silent hinges, and she crossed the threshold. She sucked in a startled breath. Built-in bookcases packed with books, some standing vertically and others stacked horizontally, filled 3 walls, all the way from the floor to the ceiling in the spacious, windowless office. She thought Daddy's study at home and his collection of printed works impressive, but Daddy had only 2 stacks of barrister shelves, 4 sections each. A desire to peruse the Dean's shelves made her insides twitch. "Miss Cowherd," Addie forced her attention to the Dean, who stood beside a gleaming mahogany desk in a slash of pale lamplight, his pose as dignified as that of a judge overseeing a courtroom. Some of the rowdier students called Dean Crane Old Ichabod, a title Addie had always found offensive, but seeing the unusually tall, thin man up close, she understood the nickname. "Yes, sir?" The Dean peered at her over the top of a pair of wire-rimmed half-moon glasses, which sat precariously at the end of his narrow, hooked nose. "Please close the door and have a seat." Addie snapped the door into its casing, shutting out the bright light from the hallway's many hanging pendants, and crossed the thick carpet to a pair of matching round-back, padded armchairs facing his desk. She perched on the brocade seat of the one on the right and placed her laced hands in her lap. She offered the Dean a smile. Fine tufts of white hair that stuck up like dandelion fluff on top of his head and bushy salt-and-pepper mutton-chop whiskers gave him an almost comical appearance. But his stern frown spoiled any cheerful effect. A curtain of dread fell around her, and her stomach performed little flip-flops. A man who appeared so dire wouldn't deliver good news. Felicity's endless pit of nervousness suddenly seemed less far-fetched. He settled in his chair. "Thank you for coming, Miss Cowherd. I know this is a busy time for students preparing for final examinations." "Yes, sir, it is." She forced herself to speak calmly, but I presumed it was something important. "You presumed correctly." He opened a folder that lay on an exceptionally large blotter, his movements slow and painstaking, giving the impression the cardstock folder was actually formed from a slab of stone. He tapped the top page of the short stack of papers inside the folder with his long, bony finger. "Your academic achievements are impressive, Miss Cowherd. Yours are among the highest scores in the junior class." The acrobats in her stomach slowed their leaping. Perhaps his grim countenance was by habit. Even Preacher Finley back home in Georgetown was a somber man who rarely smiled, but had a very kind heart. She placed her hands on the chair's carved wooden armrests and crossed her ankles, allowing her tense muscles to relax. "Thank you, sir." He slid the sheet of paper aside, his gaze seeming to follow its path, then lifted a second page and squinted at it. "Every report from your professors is positive, praising your deportment, responsibility, and morals." Addie lowered her chin, battling a wave of pride. Her mother stressed humility. She wouldn't shame Mother by gloating, but it sure sounded as if she were about to receive some sort of award. She coached herself to respond appropriately when the Dean finally explained why he'd called her to his office. "Which is why it saddens me to dismiss you as a student." She jerked her head upright so abruptly her neck popped.